Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen, Carlos Balasquita, and Alex King here on this Tuesday, December the 11th, 2018. It's 4 p.m. New York time, 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, 9 p.m. in London, and in Sydney, Australia, it's 8 a.m. Good morning, Sydney. We are here live streaming once again to the Facebook Law of Attraction Changed My Life group, where we're going to be doing another Q&A, inviting people who are members of the group to bring whatever issues or questions or comments or thoughts or insights they have about applying the law of attraction in their own lives and all of us doing it in each other's lives and so on and so forth. Well, I guess we don't really do it in each other's lives, but we kind of do. We share our energy. That's a good part. But
exactly.
But by all means, yeah, right. But by all means, please post your questions if you're listening to the live stream, because that's what this particular session is all about. We've been doing a lot of Q&As lately, and we get more and more people asking questions. So that's a signal to us to keep offering more Q&As, and so that's what we're doing. So, guys, how you doing? Carlos, I can see you're getting your calisthenics in, you're stretching, you're ready to go, you're warming up.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Just trying to get limber here, getting ready for these questions,
See, it's appropriate, because I just got back from work out at the gym, and I just joined a gym for the first time in a long time, and so, doing calisthenics is a good thing. And, the only thing I haven't figured out, I haven't got my personal trainer to explain to me what calisthenics I should be doing to warm up for answering law of attraction questions. But I will bring that up in the next session.
Yeah, I just got out of the car I was in the car for a couple hours, so that's why.
Oh, yeah.
I try to stay, good posture. It's good, makes you feel good, when you can stand up straight.
Absolutely. And Alex, how you
Very
doing?
true.
You're looking gorgeous with your hair there. You've done something different. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
It's blue.
It's just blue. Okay.
I don't know if I like it, though. It might go back to purple, so we'll see.
Well, it works
Let it
nice.
marinate.
It works nicely with your jacket. It's a nice color combination. It has a beautiful presentation on
these
screen.
Are my PJs.
Oh, your
These are
PJs?
my
Oh, okay.
PJs.
So,
yeah.
So not only are you color coordinated, but you're relaxed. That's really good.
I'm very relaxed.
I take it you've been having a good week and had a good weekend and so forth.
I did. Yep.
Yeah, I can tell. It's all over your face. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You're a lousy poker player. You just give away all your tells. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a great poker player.
Are you really? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to be insulting. Very good. Excellent.
So how was your week? Well,
it's been improving, actually. As most listeners know, my wife has been dealing with some medical issues, and she's showing improvement. The medication that she's on is helping a lot, and she's actually able to get up and do things for parts of the day. So, yeah, it's definite improvement. In fact, I mentioned a couple of podcasts this week so far that on Saturday she came into the bedroom at one point during the afternoon and looked at me and said, "I feel like my old self again," which was like great news to hear. It doesn't last all day long, but it's like even just to have a chunk of the day that's like that. Oh, after what we've been going through, that's fabulous news. So yeah, things are looking up. Things are looking really good. Plus,
that's great news.
We just got somebody in to clean the house, so all the dust is gone. Life is good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, let's see. Do we have anybody asking questions? Yeah. Well, we got people saying hello. Greetings from Romania. Oh wow, Valeriu. Thank you for
Romania.
Yeah, fabulous. And Deidre's here. Hi, Deidre. Just friended her yesterday. That was great. She's a friend of Nasha's, actually. And, improvement. Yeah, that's what Deidre's saying. Yeah, lots of improvement. I love the improvement. It's a good thing. So I think we'll probably have to warm them up because they aren't asking questions yet. But that's okay. We can do that.
Well, I had, it wasn't my question, but I think I saw that you responded to this question on the group. And... yeah, I kind of wanted to chat about it if we didn't have a question yet. But
sure.
The question was, and this is not verbatim, so forgive me if I screwed up. But it was something about how do I believe in the law of attraction even if it's never worked for me or something like that. You remember that question?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
it's a good
right.
question.
So it was a great question. So I just thought I've been thinking on it, and for me, it was just. I think there is like a disconnect when because you're right. Well, I think Walt had said something along the lines of, well, you already have used the law of attraction, or you're already doing it. You just don't. Everything that you bring into your life is manifested, good and bad. And so I think that sometimes we just have to like be able to look back and start to connect those dots, right? Oh, this happened. Okay, well, this was bad, but look, okay, well, then this happened after that. And could I have had this without that? Well, maybe not. Okay. So you kind of, oh, okay. You start to see, or you start to, oh, I was thinking about this at this time, and, this kind of happened. But, because I think that the person was asking how to kind of be more intentional.
Right. Oh, I'm sure that they were. Yeah. I wasn't trying to answer the whole question with my answer. My answer was intended to basically get them to rethink their question, to get them to understand that when you're asking, well, how do you make the law of attraction work? You're doing it every single day. And the way I tried to explain it was just look around at your life. I mean, if you have like a particular person in your life and you really don't like that person in your life, then ask yourself, how much time do you spend thinking about that person, or talking about that person, or complaining about that person, or wondering what to do about that person? And then you wonder why the person's in your life. Take your attention away from the person.
Towards that person.
Just stop paying attention. That's how you get rid of the person. So, I mean, that's once we understand that part, then it becomes a lot easier, I think, to become a deliberate creator. I think the hard part is becoming a deliberate creator without knowing that happens, because now you're just kind of flying blind. Like, okay, I put out my request. What's happening next? I don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And no, that's a good point. I think also like. I don't think that when somebody kind of says, or think about it, or become obsessed with it, and that's how it manifests, I don't think that they realize the amount of what you're talking about. It's not hey, I'm gonna think about it every once in a while kind of thing. If you really want to be deliberate about it, you got to talk about it every day. You should be researching, looking it up. Just everything that you put, if it's really what you want, you put in that time, and start small, right? Like don't try to change the world on your first, thing that you want to manifest. Make it something like, who knows? What's something small? Just, maybe a job change or something like that, or like,
which some people would consider to be huge, actually.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good example, but I guess anything we kind of ask the universe for is can be
I have a good example.
Go ahead, Alex.
I manifested these PJs.
All right.
Yeah, because what happened was like 6 months ago, I had bought similar PJs for my dogs. And so they have matching PJs, and then like a month ago I was sitting there and I was like, man, I wish they had these in my size. And then walking through Kmart, lo and behold, there they were. And I was like, oh, gotta buy it.
That's
now
a good one. Yep, my dad used to always do that with a parking spot. That just reminded me of you said Target. So he would tell me right before we are going into the parking lot, oh, they always save me one here, right here in the front. And no, really here, right here in the front, right here. And it was crazy because I was like, man, this guy always gets lucky, or this guy, for the most part, has a parking spot all the time right in the front. And he was but he said it with so much, that's the point, is you say it with so much confidence, you believe it 100, like and that's something that you can easily take the doubt from, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, easily.
It's something small that you can kind of, hey, yeah, there's going to be one there. But kind of, start something small, PJs, parking spots, those kind of things, and kind of grow. You don't go to the gym and start with 300 pounds either. You got to work your way into it. So
baby steps.
Right.
People are telling us where they're from. We've got a listener from Pakistan. We have another one from the Czech Republic.
Welcome.
I mean, this is just mind-blowing how many listeners we have from different countries around the world.
Yeah.
I
love the Czech Republic. Yeah. I've met a few people from there.
It's fantastic.
They were very, very cool.
Yeah. I just continue to be blown away. And Deidre says Nasha is also from Pakistan. Yeah. So we have two people listening from Nasha's not here yet, I don't think. But two people from Pakistan. It's so cool. Technology's a wonderful thing. You know that? I'm thinking too about the idea of should you manifest something small or something big or something in between. And I used to believe in the idea of start small. I actually don't think that anymore, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I think you should go for the mansion or for becoming a multi-billionaire by next year or something like that. I don't think necessarily that big, but why not go for something that would really, when it comes through, it would actually be really cool. It'd be a really big win. So I like the way Abraham says it. Abraham, there was one particular workshop where they were asked about money, and I think somebody asked, "How much money should I ask for?" And Abraham says, "We think that all of you ask for too little. You should be asking for a minimum of $15 million." Now, how many people actually think to ask for that much?
Wow.
I'm seriously, And so I've started making that like my favorite number to go to, 15 million. I might as well just go for the gusto, And the other thing is, it's not like it has to come in at exactly 15 million. I love, for instance, the story that Jack Canfield tells in The Secret, where W. Clement Stone was his mentor, and Stone asked him to set a goal that was so high he didn't even think he could get it. This was in like 1980, and in 1980 dollars, I think he said he was making $8,000 or $9,000 a year income. So he set a goal of $100,000, which was way beyond anything that he could even hope to make. Had no idea how it was going to happen, and didn't get any $1 million ideas or $100,000 ideas for the next month or so. And then one day he was in the shower, and a thought came to him that he had written this book and hadn't really sold, hadn't found a publisher, nothing had really come out of it. But he said, well, based on how the royalty system worked at that time, if I could make 25 cents a book, so if I sell 400,000 books, that'd be $100,000. Now, he had still no idea how to sell 400,000 books. But he just kind of dwelt on that for a while and got kind of excited about it. And he also took a $1 bill and he turned it he turned it into a $100,000 bill. And then he posted it on his ceiling. He taped it to a ceiling above his bed. So every morning when he woke up, he would see that he had a $100,000 bill. Again, programming his mind and giving him something to focus on about achieving his goal. Well, one day he was in the supermarket. And in the supermarket, he saw the National Enquirer at the checkout line. And the way he described it was always background, but on that particular day, for some reason, it jumped out at him. And within a very short time after that, he was giving a talk at a local college. And after the talk, a woman came up to him and said, "That was a great talk. I'd like to interview you. I'm a writer." And he says, "Who do you write for?" She says, "Well, I'm mostly a freelancer, but most of my stuff goes to the National Enquirer." So Twilight Zone music starts playing in his head. He does the interview. Long story short, the book is called Chicken Soup for the Soul. It ends up taking off. It ends up taking off. And did he make $100,000 that year? No, he made $92,355. So he didn't make $100,000. Did he care? Absolutely not. That was wonderful. What a fabulous result.
Yeah.
And then his wife said to him, "Well, if it works with 100,000, you think it'll work with 1 million?" He says, I don't know. I think so. Let's try." The next frame, you see him being handed a check by his publisher for $1 million, which his publisher had signed with a little smiley face next to his signature because it was the first $1 million check he had ever written in his life. So it doesn't matter whether you actually hit the number. It doesn't even matter what the number is. Just set the number and make it high so that anything that you come close to it or even within spitting distance of it, who cares? Right. Yeah. If you shoot for 15 million and make 5 million, like, woohoo! All right.
Right? It's something you didn't have before. So
absolutely.
Just be grateful.
Yeah.
But that also goes to like, the way that you program your mind. And like, I talked about this on Friday, but I'll touch on it briefly here again, but it's just asking yourself the right questions, right? Like this guy was like, I want to make $100,000. So his mind naturally start looking for ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like I said, the mind is very powerful. So finally, until, like you said, a month later, it's like, oh, this book, that might be a good idea. And then his mind, well, how do I get this book to make me $1 million? And his mind started doing the math. Oh,
that's right.
how I don't know how to sell for how well. And again, it's just like, how do I do this? And then the inquire. It's like, again, it's your brain is searching for the answers to these questions, and those were productive questions. Like, how do I get to this next level? And again, your brain's going to fill in those gaps, and it might not even be the right way, but it kind of gives you some kind of an action to take, and through that, you find little avenues and stuff. So. That's a great story.
And actually, he said he never knew how it was going to happen. He kind of inferred. He didn't really talk about it in detail in the movie, but he kind of inferred that he didn't know how it was going to happen. But he kind of gave up on that, and then things started coming to him. And that's something that's actually, I think, a good piece of advice, because if we get too wrapped up in how it's going to happen, we can actually bring our vibration down.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the argument against, trying to figure out the hows. It's what Mike Dooley calls the horrible hows. So instead of focusing on the hows, you just focus on the part that gets you excited. Like, what are you going to do when you get your $15 million or whatever it is? How are you going to use your $100,000? What are you going to spend it on? What are you going to buy? You're going to buy a house. You're going to buy a car. You're going to take a vacation. What are you going to do? And get excited about that. Mm-hmm. And then visualize that part. That's how Neville Goddard got his steamship ticket home back in the 1930s, by visualizing what it was like to be home on his native island, his native-born island of Barbados. For Christmas, which I think is an interesting choice for Christmas, but that's another story. But we also have more people saying that we started a trend here to find out where people are from. So we've got somebody from Dublin, Ireland. Anne Marie, she's from Middletown, just down the road from me. So she's here in Connecticut in the U.S. And I think I saw another one here too. I'm not spotting it, but Nasha says she's been reading Chicken Soup for the Soul. Yeah, you and about 50 million other people.
Right.
I mean, that series of books just has sold an unbelievable number of copies. And the thing I love about that book,
all the spin-offs of it.
All the spin-offs are crazy.
Yeah. Because I read Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When I was, 16? Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe Jack's actually sold the series, so he no longer owns the series. Mm-hmm. But he made out very nicely.
Yeah, true.
Well over 15 million. Well over. So you just never know how it's going to work. Just don't try to do the hows. I used to do the hows like crazy, and the hows are really bad for you. I can tell you that, because they'll just drag you right down. I mean, unless your first how works. If your first how works, then it's great. But if your first how doesn't work, then it starts to weigh on you a little bit. And then it weighs on you some more, and then a little bit more, and then all of a sudden you're in that downward spiral thingy, which we don't want to be in. So.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely right. The thought happened to me actually. I was just how I got into the acting thing was I was doing the stand up, and I was like, man, this is kind of I just had it in my mind. I kind of wanted to get into that, and I wasn't forcing it though, right? I was kind of just. I was thinking about it a lot, and then a friend of mine from high school, who's now a commercial agent, had seen a picture that I posted, and was like, and reached out, and it's
nice.
And then it just kind of went into happening, It's like I didn't have to try. I mean, and a lot of, it's very strange. Like most of the time, you have to go and you go on a lot of meetings and those kinds of things. But yeah, it's like when it's for you, just it kind of comes to you,
Absolutely. Another person, Elena is tuning in from Sydney, Australia. So hello, Elena from Down Under.
Morning.
And Carlos Nasha is saying hey to you. So
hey Nasha.
There you go. Nobody's asking questions. I think everybody's figured out the law of attraction. They have all the answers now. Maybe we should have them on. They can explain it to us. What do you think? Well, since we don't have questions, let's see. What are some of the interesting questions we've had to talk about lately that are worthy of continued discussion? We had some Neville questions, but I don't think either of you guys are real Neville experts. What else is good? Well, actually, we were having a conversation about the larger role of religion and spirituality the other day. In fact, Carlos, I think you kind of ducked in on that one a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was kind of interesting because we normally don't go that deep into the spiritual side of the whole topic.
It's funny. I mean, the things that and kind of growing up, I grew up Catholic and went to a Catholic school through like, 8th grade. And so, I mean, that was my basis. But I feel like this happens a lot to a lot of people though, is like once you kind of grow up with a religion and then you're like, well, I don't know if this one's for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, this makes sense to me.
Right.
Or, and then you kind of just fall out of it, or you try to find something else that does fit. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that I think you made a point of something about religions kind of really serving their own religion, right? It's like a lot
Very
of this
often.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I heard something a long time ago that said kind of religion creates division, sometimes, and
You can.
it can, yeah. But I think that when people focus on the pillars or like the values of the religion and not so much who's right and who's wrong, that's when you get the most out of religion. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
If you're Buddhist and you follow and because the values of all these religions and just being a good person, I think those things shine through in all of them, and they're very similar if you look at it like that. So it's to me it's a lot of when I see people use religion to hurt others, that to me is like a lot of times the majority of how religion is used nowadays. But I also see sometimes, the other opposite end. It's like, hey, this person believes in this religion, and because of that, they feel very strongly to do these, great works, right? Or doing unto others, right? And so, but then they don't have to brag about it, or they don't have to do it in a loud manner. It's just like, this is what there was a song that we used to sing when I was like very little. It said something about they will know we are Christian by our love, right? It's not how you say things or look at me. It's just like through your actions, people will know, you know what, that person has some kind of spirituality, or that person is connected in that way. So I don't know. It's just kind of like a kind of overarching, my view of how I see, religion. But
I think you're right. And it's like anything else in life. No matter what the value system is, no matter what the belief system is, it can serve you as a person, or it can be used to divide. It can work either way. It just depends on how you decide to use it. So, no matter what the system is, it's really up to you to be the person to be in control of your own belief system and how you're going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all in moderation too, because a problem I see a lot of times too, especially people that grew up very strictly religious, is that a lot of times their parents let religion do the parenting for them. So they were like, oh okay, we're just gonna do this is the religion that we're in, so these are all the rules, and it's like, and they just enforce the religion so much that they didn't really, and that's when people kind of grow up and they don't understand even the religion that they're in. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, well, this is supposed to be this, but for me, it's only been a burden. It's only been, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this. And it's like, kind of focusing, like you say, perception is everything. So, even focusing on the wrong things of a religion, and kind of doing those things over and over again can kind of be detrimental. So I think just like parenting, you don't want to be too strict. Then you also don't want to be, their best friend. You want to have a kind of real
middle ground
relationship. And I think that's the same thing with, religion. If you treat it like a cult, or you treat it like it's like, and it's everything is, against you, or like, I can't do this, or you just limit yourself, based on it, then you're not going to like it, and you're not going to really draw the things that you should be drawing from them. But I think that you should really just take things for the positives, right? Always. So.
Well, we've got 2 questions from Nasha, and Nasha wanted to get the question asking going, and she contributed twice the value. So let's go. Actually, it's three. There's three questions, but two of them go together. First question is, what is the true meaning of letting go of your past? What is the true meaning of letting go of your past? And I think that's probably in the context of being a deliberate creator, because one of the concepts that gets discussed is if you've got something in your past that's an old tape that's playing in your head, and it's interfering with your inability to get into that, what Abraham calls that high-flying place, that really good-feeling place, then you have to address it somehow. You have to deal with it. So, but the way she phrases it is interesting. What is the true meaning of letting go of your past? What do you guys think?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I think personally, I think that has to do with forgiveness, forgiving and forgetting the situation or whatever is holding you back.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah. Tony Robbins, I'm going to bring this guy back in here. Funny, he's not. I wouldn't even call him, a law of attraction, expert or anything of that. But a lot of the stuff that he teaches people how to do, it kind of gets them out of their own way, and so that they can manifest. So one of the things he says is to know and realize that your past does not equal your future. Even if you've done something and it's happened 5 times that way, that doesn't have to be the 6th time that it's going to be that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So don't prejudge, opportunities or situations. Try to really just be in the moment and take in what is going on at that time. And I think that I talk about this all the time as far as the things that we go through, maybe and that are in the kind of the negative, how that they grow us and they allow us to learn and build this kind of tool belt, right? That I talk about that will allow you to deal with or be prepared for your blessings in the future or your whatever's coming to you, positive, right? And so I think really the true meaning of letting go isn't forgetting everything, right? It's like all these things have taught you lessons. And so I would say that really just taking the lessons from the experiences and then letting the experience go, right? Like if it was a bad breakup, you take that lesson, like what did I learn from this? I learned that this is what I do want and that I respect myself and that, that I'm going to put myself first. All these things, these beautiful things that you learn from it. You want to make sure that you get the lesson because you don't want to have the experience without the lesson because then the experience was for naught, right? It was kind of a waste.
Right.
And it's just taking those experiences, but then being able to, like you said, Alex, just let go of that. Like it's not holding me anymore. That isn't going to determine what happens in my next relationship.
Yeah.
But I did take. So it's a twofold. It's you do let go of those. Of the past, but the past is there for a reason. All those little lessons that kind of will build you up to make you strong.
That's true. I think also the past. We have to remember, not everything in the past is negative. There's an awful lot in the past that is positive that we ignore and overlook. So I think part of it is appreciating the past, the parts that we like, and even more importantly, and this is perhaps where the real art comes into it, is taking the stuff that we didn't like, maybe stuff that was traumatic, maybe something that was truly in some way violating who we were, something traumatic, and seeing if there's a way that we can rewrite it in our minds, replay it and play it in a different way, in a way that comes out the way we wanted it to come out, because that can very often provide healing and make it easier to let go of the thing. We're talking about letting go of it. Well, okay, how do you let go of it? That's the way to do it.
Right.
Or that's not the only way to do it, but that is one way to do it that can be very effective.
I would even venture to say, and this might be a little controversial, but sometimes it's good to even let go of the positive things because we can live in that too long also. I think that I've been guilty of that where it's like, and not to let go of it like in the same sense of we're trying to let go of the other stuff, but enjoying it and having those memories, but try not to linger on it because it's like life goes on, right? And so you can continually fantasize or romanticize an experience that you've had, and try to get back there or try to get something similar. And that was what it was for that time. You know, I think a lot of times we get disappointed, and that's a very easy way to get disappointed is trying to relive. Oh, last time we went to San Diego for so-and-so's birthday, that was great. Oh, let's do that again. And so you just had this expectation it's going to go that way. And you might even have a great time again. It just wasn't like the other time. And you kind of set yourself up for this kind of disappointment. So it's like, you know, and what I do, or what I've been guilty of in the past too, is just like, oh, that went really well. And so like, I'm just going to hang on to that good feeling. And like, I don't need to try it again, especially if it's something scary. You know what I mean? Like, so that's a lot of times I try to, you know, oh yeah, it was good. And then take that energy and then kind of leave it there and then just try it again, you know, because I've, you know, you don't want to get too satisfied. You know, you want to have a little bit of like that, you know, that hunger.
So are you an advocate of like the idea that life is a buffet and you want to just start sampling everything you can find on the buffet?
I do, yeah. I sample as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And you can. I think anybody who knows me knows that. You know, just all the different jobs that I've had. You know, and all the different things that I've tried, and yeah, I'm an open book for sure.
That's a good thing. All right. Yeah. And then Nasha has two other questions that work together. She says, how can one heal the inner child, which we started to address in some ways, and does Neville say anything about that? And as you were talking, Carlos, I was thinking about that second part of the question. Does Neville actually say anything about healing the inner child? And I can't say I can think of anything that specifically addresses that, but I can think of a metaphor that he uses. And quite honestly, it's a metaphor that when I first read it, it kind of raised my eyebrows, like, oh, really? Okay. He metaphorically equates the conscious mind to being male and the subconscious mind to being female. And that there is what he describes as a love relationship between the two. I mean, he acknowledges that they're really two parts of the same mind. It's all one mind, but it makes it easy for us to understand, or easier for us to understand what's going on when we divide into conscious and subconscious. And then he likes to say that if you think of it as a gender thing, then you basically create a loving relationship between the two. It's a very intimate relationship between the conscious and subconscious mind. Now, he also has some metaphorical meanings that go along with that, and this is where you need to have the Neville decoder ring to kind of make sense out of it. But that's the closest I can. That's the closest I can think of to him addressing the inner child, because from his perspective, anything that you're putting into your subconscious mind, you want to do lovingly and gently, and that's an inner child thing, I would think. It's not really so much about healing the inner child. It's more like how do you work with the inner child? How do you work with the conscious and subconscious mind? And his answer is gently and lovingly. So it's close, not quite the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too. I think that we're constantly trying to do that, right? Is trying to heal that inner child. And I think that, like I joined the podcast yesterday. Was it yesterday? And,
I think it was, yeah.
To ask a question, it's like, and that was it. It was like, man, like I've been thinking this specific way for so long, and then it kind of, hit me out of left field that that's not reality. That was all made up in my mind, right? And so I just think that we constantly are trying to, thrive for more and more consciousness and more awakening, I guess you could call it. And so the first step you're already on, right, is like, hey, I realize that this is a thing, and you just kind of try to constantly work at it, and it's just like a muscle. Like you go to the gym and you work out, and it's the same thing. It's like the more that you use it, and the more that you train your mind, and it just becomes easier to elevate from that. And another thing that I think is huge is to kind of keep moving forward and to heal that inner child is just constantly evaluating your relationships, because I feel like as you grow in awakening, and sometimes not everybody can function on your level, and so just knowing not letting people drag you down into low vibration. Just trying to stay as high in vibrations as possible, and then bring others up with you if you can. Like that's ultimately what you would want. But some people they just can't. They can't even fathom the level of consciousness that you're at. They're just working at a completely different level, and so
right.
Yeah, just kind of being aware of that, and yeah, just it's a constant process, I would say.
Deirdre made a comment regarding the Neville part of the discussion. And Deirdre, I'm really interested to know if you know what the source, which of Neville's books he wrote this in, because I don't recognize it exactly the way you described it. She says, I'm thinking of something Neville says about the only time is now and that the past is just memories. Don't look back as Lot's wife did, who turned to salt. Salt being a preservative, not letting go is preserving it. It's interesting, but I don't remember that. I have not read all of Neville's books, so I'm really curious to know which book that's in. If you happen to know, if you don't know the answer, it's okay. But if you happen to know that, I'm going to be curious to know where it is because I want to see that. And then we also had a question. Well, it's sort of a commentary and a question from Aliyah. And Aliyah says, I used to get bullied in high school. I have learned to love myself, but how do I get rid of those beliefs in my subconscious mind that stop me from living my life the way I want to? I care way too much about what people think about me. Constantly scared of people bashing me. And I know that I need to let those old beliefs go, but I don't know how. And first of all, I think anybody here listening in and participating can be sympathetic because high school can be a kind of a rough time the way some people treat other people in high school. So the fact that you were bullied.
Facts.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said facts.
Facts. Oh, yes, right. Yeah, absolutely. Any ideas, though, on what she can do? She says she's been learning to love herself, and that's good. I would say keep doing that. But any other ideas for helping her to, as she says, get rid of those beliefs in her subconscious mind that stop her from living the life the way she wants to?
Well, that's what I just started doing the other day, and I think, and I'll bring it up here because if you weren't listening yet to yesterday's podcast, but I had joined and asked Juan, it was Patty, right? I think was his name.
Yep, Patty.
Juan Patty about. I had something similar. It wasn't about bullying, really. It was just about how I grew up thinking about the expectations that women have for men that they date or their significant other. So I had this, like you, I had this very these subconscious, beliefs that just, and I know that I have them. You just kind of have to try to let them go, right? So it is hard. But yeah, just loving yourself. And then I have found that the more transparent that I am with those who are close to me, the more myself I will feel. So like, I know that even, being subconscious, even the people that are, closest to you, there's certain things that you don't even tell them. It's like, oh, I'm embarrassed. You like to control the way that people perceive you. And that's the kind of the control that you have because, as in high school, when there's people bullying, there's not a lot of control. So it's like that, when you kind of get out of that, people like to hold on to that control of how people perceive them. But when you start to let a little bit of that go, like might tell your best friend, hey, actually, I know that, I don't know, whatever it is, like, hey, I know that, I seem like I'm, this, but it's like, this is something that bothers me and stuff. And then you start to realize it's like, oh, that person's not judging you. They're accepting you for who you are. And so you start close with the people who are close to you and just become a little bit more and more transparent. And then my goal, because I'm not even there, I'm very in the infancy of this, but my goal is I want to just be able to tell anybody anything without any, embarrassment about anything, or just be completely open. Oh yeah, this happened to me. And it's just because, that to me is, ultimate freedom is, the lack of fear. And that's kind of what that is fear of judgment. Right. And so,
right.
Yeah, I would say just that's my advice. Is just that, or that's what I've been doing. So I can't even tell you that this is concrete advice, but as somebody who's going through it, this is what I'm trying, and just try to kind of lift that shame or that embarrassment over, and everybody has little secrets, right? And so that maybe try that. Maybe that'll help you out to kind of love yourself even more, you know.
Yeah, that's good. Essie actually gave a response to Aaliyah. She said, daily positive affirmations to get those beliefs out of your system. And that's true. Positive affirmations can help with that. In fact, one thing we've talked about on quite a few of the podcasts is mirror exercises. Talk about Jack Canfield. He's the one who presented the idea of mirror exercises that I saw for the first time. There may have been others who did. But mirror exercises are a wonderful way to build self-esteem. And Aaliyah was talking about how she's been working on having learned to love herself. Well, that's the way to build it up even more. Nothing like looking into your own eyes in the mirror and saying to yourself, I love you. Especially the first time. The first time it's like, oh, God, do I really have to say this? No. But when you do it on a regular basis, I mean, we're going to have somebody on probably one of these Sundays. Anne Marie's husband, Mike, has been doing it now for, I guess, almost like 2 months. And he's telling me that the change that he's been experiencing is like a world of change. So, and I've experienced it myself. I did it for about 45 days in a row, something like that. And it did a lot for me.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this.
Mirror exercises, literally, it's something you do every single day. You devote as much time as you can. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. My very first session lasted 5 seconds, so it doesn't give you, it's not like it's a whole lot of time. You try to go for more than 5 seconds as you're doing it day by day. But literally, you look in the mirror, or you can actually do it with just a smartphone, just like you're taking a selfie. Look in the camera so you can see yourself, and you look into your own eyes. And then you talk to yourself. You have a conversation with yourself. And the purpose of it is to build yourself up by telling you all the things that you like about what you're doing, what you're thinking, what kinds of efforts you've been making, how you've been treating people, all the good things that you've been doing in life, just to reassure yourself and remind yourself, you're a really good person. You're special. You're a fabulous person. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to have good things happen. And when you say that to yourself over and over and over again, day after day after day, you don't have to do it a lot in terms of a long period of time each day. I would do it for 2 or 3 minutes a day, which is plenty. You do that for 2 or 3 minutes every single day, you're going to start feeling results. It's going to happen. For me, one of the big results I got, that negative chatter that shows up in your head, the negative thoughts that come out of nowhere and they're hounding you and they're bugging you. Negative chatter went away completely. The negative chatter blanked out after 30 days. It was gone entirely. And I was just kind of grooving on, wow, my mind is so quiet these days. It was really nice.
I'm gonna try that. Yeah,
it's good. It's a really good exercise. It's very powerful. The hardest part is just getting through the first couple of days where you're saying, oh, God, do I really have to say that to myself?
It's very cringy. Yeah.
But once you get past that, and even if you're just doing a few seconds each day, at least you're doing it. The main thing is establishing that habit. But after you do it for 2 or 3 days, all of a sudden it gets easier. It's like, yeah, all right. So it's a little bit stupid that I'm saying this, and you start making arguments like that. But at least you're doing it. You're actively doing the daily exercise. And that's what you really need. The daily exercise is where it starts turning around your own image of yourself in your own mind, both consciously and subconsciously. So, I recommend highly mirror exercise. It's very, very powerful.
Cool.
So, and Deidre asks, is that what it's called? Mirror exercises? Yeah. In fact, let me see. I'll see if I can find the blog post. Jack Canfield posted something about mirror exercises, and let me see if I can get that. I'll just post it into the chat here for people who are watching the live stream. Yeah, here it is. So that's going in right now. All right. And Bronwyn has already volunteered that she's going to start doing the mirror exercise. Good for you. All right. Oh, well, Nasha is asking questions like crazy. Her next question is a paradigm shift. How do we do that? And does it take time? Interesting question. I guess it depends what you mean by a paradigm shift. Because a paradigm shift could be for yourself, or it could be for a society. I'm not sure what you have in mind.
Yeah.
I think it takes a little while because, and there's not any set time, but for me, I think when she said that, a paradigm that I've had to shift is what does success mean for me as an adult, and it's or in success in career, right? And so the paradigm was, or just, society is, if you're an artist, they're like, oh, people ask you, well, what if you don't make it? But if you're an engineer, nobody asks you that, right? Nobody's like, oh,
right,
what if
right.
what if you don't make it? It's like, but it's because of, it's this paradigm that we have. It's like, you do this, you go to school for this amount of time, you go, and then okay, and everything's in this in these little boxes, right? And then you have to come to realize that that's deception. That's not how we're all made so uniquely for us to all then try to fit in the same suit. Like, it just doesn't. That's deception. That's not reality. And so. Mm-hmm. That's a huge part, and it's something I struggle with still to this day. It's like just making that, hey, this is just as much as a reality, acting and comedy. This is just as much a reality as being an engineer for people who are good at those things, right? Like, this person's good at math, and so there's a great possibility that he's going to be a successful engineer just as much as with other gifts. There's just that possibility to be an actor or a comedian or a musician or whatever. There's a lot of people like to project their own fears on you. And so that's another thing. It's like, and imagine when all of society has that same fear and they're telling you that it's very difficult. And so that's to me, is what makes it difficult. But I think the more, I guess, awaken or conscious you become, the easier it is to separate the outside noise. And it's like, okay, that, what does that have to do with me? Is what I like to ask when somebody's like, oh, that's really hard. That probably won't happen because I tried that, or I knew somebody did that and it didn't work out for them. What does that got to do with me? You know what I mean? Like that's just like my past doesn't equal my future. Your past doesn't equal my future either. You know what I mean? That's really what I'm trying to figure that out. But hopefully that's an example. I don't know if it's very, very hard to say how long a paradigm shift will take and how open you are to that too. You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing, is you have to be open to it and you have to kind of ride through the uncomfortableness and the struggle, because it's not going to be just like, oh, okay, well, now I thought this for 30 years and now I'm going to think this. There is that, constant, oh, well, your mind kind of reversing, you have to adjust and you have to keep adjusting and realigning and realigning and realigning. So
it also depends what you mean by a paradigm, I think. But a paradigm for me is something that plays a major role in your life, mm-hmm. which is a fairly broad definition. Right. So when you're trying to make a paradigm shift, you're trying to make a major shift in your life. And mm-hmm. there are a lot of ways I think you can look at that. One of my favorite ways to look at it is the way Abraham describes it. And the cliche that gets repeated so often, but it's really true, is when Abraham said, it is just as easy to manifest a castle as it is to manifest a button. Mm-hmm. And it's true. So when you're trying to answer the question of how do you make the quantum shift and how long will it take to make the quantum shift, how long will it take to make the major shift that you're looking for in your life, the answer is, how long is it going to take you to get on and stay on that positive track for attracting it in the first place? Because when you're on that track, if you really get on that track and you're really in a belief mode, like, yeah, I believe it's going to happen. In fact, I don't have any doubt in the world. The universe loves speed. The universe will deliver really, really quickly if you really, really believe it. The only reason that we have any kind of delay is because of our doubts and our concerns mm-hmm. and our worries and focusing on, what if it doesn't work? And, the other part too is so many of the requests we make from a perspective of lack, and we don't realize it. That's why so many of the conversations and pieces of advice and guru tips and so forth are about making sure that you're in the feeling place about the thing that you want. Because if you put out a wish and you wish it from the point of view, from the emotional feeling viewpoint of I don't have it, you are going to get back, you won't have it. Okay, I promise you, you will not get it. That's the universe's reply. I swear to God, I promise under no circumstance will you get it. And we don't realize it. We often don't realize we're putting out that kind of a vibrational signature, but so often we are. So, how do you make a major shift happen, a paradigm shift? You do it by believing it and by living it and thinking it and making it your life. And how long will it take? How long will it take for you to stay there and believe it? That's it. Really, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean that's the hard part though. That's where it comes into like the realigning, because it's like that's the doubt. Is what you're saying is the doubt is the killer of manifestation, right? So it's like that's why I think it does take a little bit. I mean, if you have that ability, that's great that you can just shift an entire way of thinking or something completely different in your life and just go after it. But sometimes, it just takes a little work. But I think one thing is make the decision. If it, like you said, if it is it's a huge thing in your life. What I'm saying isn't like, hey, kind of do it and then think about it and then kind of release a little bit of doubt at a time. No. I'm talking. You have to make a decision, because not making a decision is also a decision. So
yes, it is.
You want to make that decision, and then a lot of people. So this I'm going to share this with you guys because my dad shared this with me, and I've listened to this, or I've kind of had this in my brain for a long time. But a lot of times when we have to make a hard decision, life decision, we don't because we're afraid. We're afraid of making the wrong decision. But once I learned this, there is no wrong decision, right? It's like, you make the decision, you make the best decision that you can at the time, and then you deal with the consequences, and you make it the right decision, right? It's like you have a lot of people think that after making a choice, their power kind of goes away, and now they're stuck. But you have to understand is that you are a deliberate creator throughout the whole process. So if any time throughout that choice something isn't going right, like you have the ability to move and adjust, and you have there's probably infinite ways of doing that one decision. So not to get kind of really hampered on whether you should do it or not, or make a decision, and then that's a part of like not having the doubt. It's because once you make the decisions, you can't. It's very hard to go backwards a lot of times if it is a true paradigm shift. You can't just quit your job and be like, oh no, I'm just kidding. A month later, it's like, oh, now you're in it. You almost have no choice but to believe. So just kind of the more deliberate you are, you just naturally have less doubt. So be as deliberate as you can to give yourself the best shot. So even if and when those things do come into your head, you're like a lot. When I have doubt, I'm like, well, I don't know about this acting thing, but then I know for 100% that I don't want to do what I was doing. You know what I mean? So it's almost like I might not be 100%, but I know 100% I don't want to go back. So that for me is just enough sometimes to kind of propel me forward.
The whole question about how much time it's going to take is one that I've thought about a lot over the years. And the more I think about it, the more I realize it just comes down to us. Because I mean, I've manifested things literally in a split second. So there's no rush, but there's also no automatic built-in delay time. It's whatever you are willing to let it in for. The only thing that stops it is our own resistance points. Things that we doubt, that we don't feel comfortable about, that it rubs us the wrong way, or what's happening is rubbing us the wrong way, or what's that?
But what about timing? I feel like people don't talk about divine timing or anything like that, but it's like, I want to manifest this right now, but again, your life has a lot of layers to it. So like having something right now maybe isn't what you need, and that doesn't mean that you're not manifesting, it's not coming to you. It's just like,
it's just not meant for you right now.
That's right. I want a baby and I want a wife. Okay, well, I would like to have one before the other. You know what I mean? But I'm manifesting both of those things. I'm manifesting both of those things at the same time. But it's like, like the universe isn't gonna kind of skip over one and just put your life into shambles, right? You are getting things that you are manifesting, but you're getting them, usually kind of in this flow or in this order. Like, Walt talks about this river that, so it's I try to keep that in mind, because that little bit of patience and knowing that allows me to vibrate at a higher vibration and allows me to manifest more things. I think a lot of times, frustration is also a very, negative emotion that a lot of us feel. And so trying to stay out of frustration as much as you can, and that kind of sets you up for success,
Well, you mentioned the stream concept, and there are actually two metaphors that come out of that are really helpful. One is a stream is made up of water. And if you think about water and the second concept is the path of least resistance. Water is the ideal medium for finding the path of least resistance, because you can have a whole bunch of obstacles in the way, and then you just flow water to it, and the water will just find its way through all the cracks without any effort at all. It'll just find its way through. No big deal at all. So when you understand it that way, it's not that necessarily that it takes time or that there's divine timing. It's just, what's the path of least resistance? The path of least resistance may take some time to get through, but that's just because it's the path of least resistance. So, and the other aspect of it too, and this is a water thing, it's an Abraham story about how Jerry and Esther decided one day to take a river raft trip. I think it was down the Colorado River. And so they go to the river, and they have there's a guide company that takes you on the river raft, and they have you sign waivers and so forth, and then they go to the end spot, and they park all their cars there, and they get into a company bus or whatever, and get driven up the river to where they're going to go in, and they're going to ride the rapids and ride the river down to the end spot. And there are two aspects of that. The first is that the guide warns them that this is not Disneyland. He can't turn the river off, so you have to be respectful of the river. The second is that Abraham creates a what-if scenario. What if Esther and Jerry said to the guide, after we've heard about how rough the river is and all that, we're wondering, could you just drive us back down to the end spot and put us out like 200 yards out, and we'll just ride the last 200 yards in? And the guide would say, well, yeah, I can do that, but I thought you wanted to ride the river. And that's the point. The point is, I thought you wanted to live the life. Is it all you want is the end result, or do you want what leads up to the end result? Because what leads up to the end result, that's where all the living is that takes place. And that I think, is where your point was going, Carlos, the idea of divine timing. Divine timing is really about living the life.
Well, I think that's the biggest paradigm shift that I think any of us can have, is the realization that the journey is everything. I think when you're little, you're like, oh, I can't wait to, when you're little, everybody thinks about skipping time. They're like, oh, I wish I could skip to being an adult already. I wish I could be 21 already. And everybody's like looking for these, milestones. But it's like, then you get to an age, or maybe it's not an age thing. Maybe it's just like like I said, a paradigm shift, or a realization where it's like, oh wow, like if I continuously think about when I get here, then I'll have this, or it's like, no, I have it. This is it. This is what and that's what made me, make the career decision I made. It's like, because I was doing that. I was like, oh, well, when I have, once I get to whatever, and it's just like, man, this is sucking every day until I get there. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me, right? Like, so now, if the journey is enjoyable, then, the end will be just as enjoyable. You don't have to wait to start enjoying life for any specific moment.
Yeah, that's true. Well, as usual, our hour has flown past, but this has been really good. We've had some good questions, and thank you very much to our listeners in the to the live stream on the Facebook Law of Attraction Change My Life group, because you made it that much more special. And Alex and Carlos, I'll be talking to each of you for different podcasts on Friday.
Yeah, yep. Cool.
So it's going to be good stuff. We'll see you all then. And we hope that you'll join us next time as well here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.